Welcome to the Painter's Dialectic. I'm your host, Josh Green, an artist and art educator living in New York City. And today we had Saloni come and talk about her show, Orange Crescent, at Alterworks Studios in Astoria. It was wonderful. I'm a big fan of her work. I love the concept, and she has a lot of important ideas to express. So be sure to follow her on Instagram and check out her work, and also check out all the other links in the description. All right.
Okay.
Welcome, everyone. And for this month, we have our visiting artist, Saloni, and she's here in Manhattan in Long Island City, or is it Astoria? You're in Astoria,
Yes, Long
correct?
Island City.
For your artist residency and your show, Orange Crescent. So thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for inviting me for this.
Yeah, of course. So, Saloni, why don't you fill us in on your background and what you've done in the States, and then we'll move into the artwork in the exhibition.
Yeah. So I am a South Asian visual artist. I'm coming from India and I moved here in the US 9 years ago. When I was in India, I did my bachelor's in physics. And then after completing that, I moved here to do my bachelor's in studio arts. I was teaching for a little bit after that in high school as a visual arts teacher, and then I did my graduate school from University of Tennessee. And then I've been teaching. I was teaching at Oberlin for past 2 years as a painting and drawing professor. And now I'll be going to University of Virginia to teach painting and drawing. So yeah, that is a little bit about my background. And as an artist, I'm a painter first, but I love exploring different mediums. So I've been doing that since my graduate school. So I think I can now safely call myself not just a painter, but maybe an installation artist, and also love to make video work and a little bit of sound too. So.
Yeah, I feel like every artist who goes through an American MFA comes out doing installation or 20 different things. It seems to be the theme.
Yeah, the longer you paint, the more you want to paint, but then you also want to do this in your painting and that in your painting, and it eventually kind of becomes something else. And like you kind of, I don't know, it's just like the more you practice art, the more you get interested in like exploring more and more and more things, and it's like a never-ending cycle then.
So how long ago was it that you graduated?
I graduated in 2024 from
Okay.
UTK.
Okay, so you're just emerging.
Yes, yeah, just
Very
got out.
exciting. Very exciting. Um, so for me, once I finished my MFA program, I felt like I still had like maybe four or five ideas that I still want to explore. Was that the same for you?
Yes, I think
Yeah.
I do have so many things in my head always going on. Sometimes I do not have the right skill set to achieve that, so it takes time. Um, and sometimes I don't have the skill set, but I still try to achieve that because I think I'm just like very ambitious and like I have an idea and I want to make it work somehow. So then I learn a software or learn how to kind of do woodworking or something like that. So um, it has been like that for me, and I still have a lot of ideas that I don't think I have skill sets for.
Mm. And it looks like you've kind of solidified your theme, though. What your focus is on is contemplation and bridging a gap between different the religious feuds, I guess, going on. So can you discuss that a bit?
Yes. So I grew up in a religious household. And when I grew up, I saw my mom. I like in the slide, I have made few slides. So I have a picture of my mom like sitting in her temple and kind of doing her daily practices. And even though she wasn't like very like a strict religious follower, but she used to follow a lot of like these practices in her own way. And then she had like her own explanation of why she's following certain things, which I thought was interesting, because when I used to ask questions to my grandmother related to any practices, she wouldn't really have any answers. I think she was just like just a devout follower, and so I was more interested in my mom way of working, where she used to find her own ways of understanding certain rituals and things. But anyways, when she was practicing all of those things, I always had questions about, who the actual God was, because there were tons of idols, and there still are tons of like tiny little idols in her temple, and each one is like because we follow Hinduism, there are like, it's a polytheistic religion, so there are so many like different idols. So as a child, I had questions like, why are they just sitting here every day, like let me entertain them. So I used to dance in the temple and just ask these silly questions of, they need some entertainment, or who the real God was, and nobody really had the answer. And so I chose physics in the first place to kind of get those kind of bigger answers, I guess. um, and then I think through painting and through art, it was so easy, because painting or any art medium felt very forgiving, where I can just spend time contemplating and thinking about um, the bigger questions. And at the same time, when I was doing my graduate school, there were a lot of like the situation between the communities, Hindu and Islam communities back home, were volatile. There were some conflict issues going between the communities, which kind of really it really hurt me. I was feeling super heavy, and so I started making these secret drawings related to those issues. Secret drawings first, because I wasn't like, I had fear. I did not know how to talk about those things. So I just like secretly made those things. And then I used to have conversation with my professors about those ideas, and, how to talk about it. And then while having, and I'm a verbal thinker. So when I'm talking, I think it came to me that my actual goal was to bring these communities together, at least in my work. And I don't have any intentions of, hurting someone's beliefs. So I think after that, it became slightly easier for me to then approach the subject matter, and then kind of slowly explore my personal interests, and then also kind of linking how these questions are not just important for personal introspection, but also for kind of thinking about these things together as community, like, how it connects for me, but then also how it connects outside the studio space. So thinking socially and politically, how that question plays a role.
And we had a funny conversation previously where I heard a practitioner of Ayurveda medicine in America said he came here to make it popular so that it would
Yeah.
become popular in India. And you
Mm-hmm.
said that was similar with yoga. Do you think maybe coming here and doing this show is kind of an attempt to do that?
that that is I love that question, because like it is, I think it is kind of true. It does become popular once America celebrates a certain idea. Then slowly other countries kind of slowly adapt it somehow, or celebrate it as well. In my case, that definitely was not the idea. I still don't think that what I'm talking about will become popular in anytime soon. One, because I know that artists or comedians right now in India who are like talking about these issues um, have faced backlash because India is a very emotional country. Emotions run deep, and the political political parties have deep-seated roots in um, religions, right? Um, so even for me to talk about these issues clearly back home, I don't think I'm prepared for that yet. Because even though my intentions are not to hurt anyone, I might be my intentions will be, you know, I think people can take me wrong, and it's like kind of slightly sensitive to approach this issue back home. I feel like the reason I can talk here, like do this here, um, with I don't know. I feel like it's easy to do this here for sure, for me, and that is why I am doing it, because this is where I feel like I can say things. I can have opinions, and then I can also say other things later, and I still be fine. Because we can change, and we can. I think in the U.S. we can have open discussions, and uh, yeah, I would still feel very safe and secure.
Yeah, I can see why you have to be careful. Um, well, how about you show us the slideshow you've created?
Okay. So I think I would like to talk about the title of the show, the Orange Crescent. So orange is like the saffron, which evokes Hinduism. It is actually the color almost claimed by Hindus back in India. So anything that is supposed to be like the flags of Hinduism is orange, or labels. All of those things related to Hinduism is very orange in color, the costumes and all of those things. While the crescent is widely recognized as a symbol of Islam, by placing these symbols like side by side in the title for this exhibition, I'm not resisting the narratives that these position like these communities are opposites. Instead, I'm proposing a shared visual and spiritual landscape where distinct identities can still coexist without erasing that they have any differences.
Mm.
The title kind of so here in these pieces, I'm imagining spaces where faith becomes like the site of dialogue rather than like division. And through paintings and a little bit of sculptural work within the paintings that draw devotional practices like from personal stories or architecture forms, and shared like cultural symbols are present in this work. And I'm just examining how religion and politics kind of shape everyday life while suggesting a possibility of, like I said, coexistence. And in kind of it's kind of my effort of grounding this work in mutual kind of recognition and shared humanity. So that was my effort. Um, in my so here, this is the image of my mom. This is the home temple, so you get an idea of my background and the ritual practices that happen in my home back home. So this is the temple. There are tons of tiny little deities that you probably cannot see in the image, but tiny little deities, and you see some colors, very prominent colors like orange or silver, gold. All of these colors are very much present in my work. That also carries conceptual weight in my work. So yeah, just to get an idea. I would like to talk about color symbolism since it is one of the important things in my work. Um, Orange is again like often associated to Hindu identity, while green is associated to Muslim identity. I'm talking about in focusing on India, and I use these colors to represent the respective spaces within the painting. And with Black functioning as a powerful, like this expansive presence that I think of as God in the work. And then the other colors like appear in my work are silver and golden. So these are colors of the precious metals that are used in temples or just adorning the idols, or the idols of the deities. So by incorporating these colors like the silvers and gold, I'm symbolically thinking of adorning these shared and harmonious spaces that I'm talking about. This is another piece. Actually, this is the first piece. The other piece was not in the show, but just showing how Black is a prominent color in the work. This piece is called as Leela. Leela takes its title from Sanskrit word, which means play. In Hindu or Buddhist and Jain traditions, Leela refers to the divine play of God, and it is often kind of used in a sense that this life that we live is just a cosmic play rather than something like predetermined or something very rigid. So and this piece was one of the most kind of joyful works in terms of like process and making. And also like that playfulness kind of guided the composition and the surface choices for me. The bright green here, a color often associated with Muslim identity throughout this body of work. It kind of felt to me when I was working. I'm just talking about what I was thinking when I was making work. So it felt like it kind of settles into this space that is crowded with Hindu philosophy, because that one green color is the color that I was thinking about in terms of Islam. But other than that, all the other ideas that were coming from Hindu philosophy. I like in Hindu philosophy, if I talk about that, then I'm thinking about sound and God as sound. There is a concept of Nada Brahma, which is saying that God is sound. And I'm very intrigued by this idea because the God is sound concept kind of comes again and again in my work. It suggests that all creations emerged from the vibration. And I love that physics also kind of says something similar, where it talks about creation coming from vibrations or particles, or everything is just particle, and that kind of theory. And then the other object here that you see is sitar, which is a musical instrument that invokes the idea of like this divine vibration and the presence of sacred through sound. And then in contrast, there's like this dark space. It is like, it feels like a quiet space. Represent the another aspect of divine, which I think is also silence. Now, in traditions, ultimate reality is often described as existing both as sound and language, where silence is not emptiness, but the state of infinite potential and awareness. So I loved that. I really love this piece because in this one work, I could kind of paint God as silence as well as God as sound, both. So I feel like in the entire when I make my work, I feel like I do have a lot of like contradictory statements sometimes in my own work and in my own thinking. But I love that I can jump around these ideas and pick one at a time and kind of deep dive into those ideas, and then kind of move on to another ideas, and then see how these very different ideas can again, like it's really nice to see how they kind of kind of interact, I guess. Um, um, I related to goddess sound. I just wanted to show one more piece here that I was thinking. I was making a lot of like these objects that could produce sound. I wouldn't call them musical instruments, but just some objects that were interactive that could produce sound. So here is one of the examples of those music sound producing objects. So it's called Unstruct. It is an interactive piece, and there's one single string object where it plays or it produces a sound. That's that. This is another painting from the show called Perspective of Presence. Now, while the harmony that I'm thinking about, it still remains in the work with composition and color, and all the formal qualities of the work feel very harmonious. And also, they feel harmonious, but the juxtaposition of chest knight, swords, and aluminum, that embossed aluminum that resembles the inverted temple architecture, it kind of introduces polemical commentary on religious and political power. Now, these symbols reflect the ways the institutions can transform faith into a contest of kind of control, and there's like this tension with the possibility of coexistence that kind of so I feel like I do have like these little symbolism, and that juxtaposition is plays the polemical part in the work. If that makes sense. This is another piece, and these are all not very large pieces. These are all like smaller pieces, 11 by 14. They are all on acrylic, on wood, and then there are other materials kind of collaged on top. So this piece again has aluminum and paper clay. The painting here, I'm using a temple floor plan, floor plan to suggest a Hindu temple, and to just suggest a place of worship. But here God takes a form of the ocean, and ocean it's like a new, I would say, the most, it's a very new idea for me in this work. But ocean, because I grew up near western coast of India, and I spent a lot of time by the sea, just watching water movement and listening to the rhythm. And so the vastness and unknowability of everything, not just the ocean, but anything and everything, feels like it gives me an experience of like this, something that is divine, or something that's like God or God. So I'm kind of interested now in that kind of personal experience that made me felt like, oh, this could be God, really, rather than going to a very logical route, which I still love that route, but it's this is the first time that I kind of truly came from a personal experience. And again, like the green and the orange space kind of sits outside the temple, suggesting harmony, but beyond beyond the religious architecture. To me, a lot of times, I feel like when there are conflicts going on between the two religions, I have a lot of friends who follow Islam back home in India, and me and my family following Hinduism. But I feel like whenever there is any kind of conflict, there's so much tension. It almost feels like God sits outside the temple and outside these boundaries that we understand to be these very religious scenarios, I guess. So it kind of sits outside. And in the painting, I'm doing the same, where the orange and green are outside the temple. And And then when everything is harmonious, I think God comes back to the temple in a way. Um, so that's there. The little thing, the object that you see on top, which is made with clay. Now that object again is inspired by my mom's devotional practice. She has a she makes little outfits for these her idols, and she is very dedicated. She gets little fabrics, and she'll make matching outfits for them. And she has like little toys that she gets, like silver toys and silver little spoons, and little game boards for them. And it's really really cute, like just tiny little game boards, tiny little like toys that you know um like baby toys kind of things. So I think like that practice, and when I asked her why she's doing that, because she's again like not really following the religion, so as I know her to be, I was like, why are you doing this so religiously? And she has a cabinet of those, so it's like a long practice. So and she said something really beautiful. She's like, why are we doing this? Because when you spend so much time in something with so much care and so much devotion, whatever practice it is, if you spend so much time and give that love and care, you manifest the divinity within that work. And I thought that was so beautiful. So well, I think hearing that my painting practice really slowed down, like the way I used to paint, the way I used to just treat the surface changed. The amount of time I used to spend, now the amount of time, not saying that I spend a lot of time now, but I'm just saying the that kind of slowness kind of dawned in the practice. And also I also started making like these little objects now for the gods that I make, so it's like little toys for the gods um, in my work. um, so I think I also started thinking about devotion, and taking the help of practice of painting to kind of manifest kind of divinity in a way in the work, which I honestly truly do not understand how that functioned, but I think it's a way of building a relationship with an object, and caring for it, I think is definitely there in the work. Mm. So, oh, here I have an example. So here's an example of my, like, it's a photo my mom sent me when I asked her. She sent me like these little toys. So these are like the outfits and like the headgears, and the toys here, they're like little cows and little animals made from probably silver or aluminum. Like the fabric is all chosen by her, the lace, everything is like she's done such an incredible job. So it's very inspiring. Here's another work. I think slowly I do have my own, like I do make my own little toys and things, so I'm just exploring in this work. The rock is also a very new object, that kind of element that comes in the work, thinking about rock as God, because there are a lot of like idols that are just rocks, and then you put so much love and create frenzy around those things, and then manifest divinity within the smallest and most neglected object. So I love that idea. And here's a little rock that I made from aluminum. Aluminum, why, you may ask, why aluminum? Because I cannot afford silver. um, Here's another piece called Under Borrowed Heavens. Now, I would like to talk a little bit about board games, because that's another important segue. The board games kind of becomes a metaphor for strategy and systems that kind of, almost governs the relationship between religion and politics. And so I draw from game theory and examine how like individuals or institutions make calculated choices within like the structures of belief and then power and also identity. And then yeah, so here's like that thinking about board games. This game is called Chaupar. It's probably might not be an exact illustration of that game, but it kind of looks something like this. The Chaupar is a ancient Indian game, which is now called Pachisi, I think, in India or US. I think. So yeah. So there is the Chaupar has its own history, and it was shown in some of the texts and some miniature paintings where Shiva and Parvati are sitting next to each other and playing Chaupar, and kind of a text that also talks about Leela and how, you know, we are playing the game of life, kind of a thing. Yeah, I think I'll quickly skim through some of the other works. So carpet flies. I have two rug paintings here, and these rugs, prayer rugs, are whatever you were seeing here so far is like all really fresh work out of the oven. So I also do not have very clear ideas of in what direction these pieces will go next, because like these were just fresh ideas and I wanted to use this residency to just make work. So it's just going. But yeah, rugs are, prayer rugs are commonly associated with Islam, especially here in the Western lens. When you think about prayer rugs, first thing that kind of maybe pops out is like thinking about Islam. But it's also an object that is kind of also found in like other religions, where Hinduism or Jainism, Buddhism, Sikhism, all of these like isms in India, I think they do use rugs. So for me, the rug became an entry point to examining shared like material cultures across these religions, and it felt like this one object that transcends the religious identities, and revealed like that there are overlapping histories of devotion and ritual and spirituality within the cultures. So I use this, and then painted, it's also printed / painted text on top of the rug, and it is that text is taken from a Hindu text that's fragmented and repeated. And when I was doing this, when I was fragmenting the text and repeating it to kind of make just a pattern, and I saw that the pattern looks like something that I saw in Delhi when I was for a tour, like a research tour. I saw that it looks like one of these Islamic like patterns that you see on the windows and doors, like floral or geometric patterns. So I thought that was interesting. And then there is a board game painted on top. And so, yeah, just thinking about these like systems and negotiations of those things in the work. These little pieces, I will be very honest that these pieces were some of the last pieces that I made, and I also clearly have not fully verbalized what they clearly mean. But when I was making it, I was thinking about objects and spaces together. I think maybe lastly, I would talk about this one piece in the show. And this piece is very different from all the works that I've made so far. It is very minimal, and just like I'm allowing the color to carry the most of the conceptual weight in the work, and the figure becomes a significant presence within the work. And this is again, like inspired by this, my mom's practice of the idol and making dresses for it. I think I might have, oh yeah, there is a detailed shot that shows like I stitched like little outfits for them. But the figure that you see here, is kind of repeated in different ways in this case, but also this orange figure here is a similar kind of thing. I'm thinking about a door guardian that is often carved outside Hindu temples, and I think it introduces a more complex and critical engagement with religious symbolism, because it's like the unwavering kind of stance that they have, that standing with weapons outside these sacred spaces, which kind of almost guards the space, and kind of thinking about like who decides, like the guard decides who can come inside the temple. So I feel like I do have started to kind of include these figures, either they are wall painted or in the painting itself, where they're almost like guarding the space. um, Again, reflects the authority and power kind of associated with like these institutions. Yeah, so here are some thoughts.
These are great. I really love your work. I love this new body of work. The
Thank
concepts are
you.
very strong. Um,
Thank you.
so why don't we open it up? And I'd really like to give Adrika a chance since she's zooming in all the way from India. Okay, here she is. She's in the chat. Adrika, would you like to ask anything to Saloni? Okay.
Oh, thank you so much.
Hello,
Hey.
hello. Is it
Hello.
audible?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, okay. So I really loved all the pieces. I mean, whatever you have said is pretty. I mean, it's more or less relatable because most of my friends are coming from different religion, and
Mhm.
in India, the religion is such a sensitive topic, and it is still a conflicting issue. Like, it's not just about art, but in every space, every
Mhm.
spaces,
Mhm.
um, there is this conflicting thing about religion. But I personally feel that the idea of religion is very abstract, and the idea of God is very abstract. And
Mhm.
in India, we cannot make one religion. Um, we cannot think of one religion in a monotheist way, or like in a what to say, in a singular particular way. But like in India, most of the religions, like all the religions we have, are uh, interrelated. Like we have
Mhm.
so many similarities
Right.
in, but in different um, but in different interpretation, like what to say, like most religion have like similar characteristics, but we interpret it in different ways.
Yeah.
And in India, this is, I think, what we are currently going through is it's not religious in very spiritual way, but more of like in a very authoritative way, in a very communal way. and
Mhm.
um, and it is very like concerning because the way India is moving. But I think
Mhm.
art and culture, or like art, is a very strong way to bridge that gap,
Mhm.
to um, to restore that syncretic nature of the Indian society, because Indian society has always been syncretic. So I really love the way you have used different colors and different way of putting things together.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Yeah, it is tough, but I feel like I am. I am working towards finding a way to talk about this, not just here, but mainly, obviously, back home. And I feel like we as an artist, or just like as a young crowd, should put efforts in finding ways to do this in a better way than what our parents have done. So yeah.
Yes, right.
Saloni,
Yeah.
hi,
Hi.
I'm Pam. Your
Hi,
work
Pam.
is beautiful. Um, I like when you use minimalism in your design. Get very minimalistic. It has a very modern, contemporary, postmodern edge.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I have found, I when I first started making work related to this subject matter, I was taking symbols from this that already existed, symbols that already existed, and I didn't have any of my interpretation in the beginning more, I think. And I realized that in one of the first shows that I did, people used to hesitate to touch the work or interact, because a lot of my work is also interactive. So they didn't interact because they felt that is sacred. You cannot touch it. It's coming from a very specific place. They had a lot of questions about how to experience or move around the work. And in order to kind of take that kind of hesitation away, I think going abstract, and kind of speaking a language that we all can understand better was my goal, and it's still my goal. I think I still constantly think about, like, how can I reach not just like the Eastern audience, but also Western audience, without having to be so specific about something.
I think the void and also the vibration are very popular ideas in all Western religion. Christianity is the logos, the word of the Lord. And then in Judaism, we have the Ein Sof R, this unlimited space of potential. But yeah, it's nice how you've displayed those through, and how your art is kind of like becoming the word in a sense, like it's taking up symbols and mashing them together. But I'd like to, maybe you could say a little bit more about the black that you use in that symbol before we head out.
Yeah, sure. So I think like the idea of black first came from physics, because I was thinking about, well, I read how a physicist had like an article, and he was talking about like an empty space, and how empty space or a void is not totally empty. It has a lot of energy, and energy that's so powerful that it can create an entire another universe from it. And so I think something similar that I also found in Hindu text, which was talking about like Shiva being Shunya, which is a zero, which is nothingness. I wouldn't say zero as a number, but nothingness. But that nothingness was described as very, very powerful. Now, if something is nothing, how can it be powerful? And I thought that was so interesting. So I started thinking more about it. And in terms of painting, when I was mixing colors, now black, when I mix black has all the colors in it. And I loved how everything kind of was talking about black having, how black constantly negates and has all these other hues in it. um, and so I started using black as God. I think using that color was also important to me, because if I go back to my home temple or any like Hinduism, just the traditional practices, do not think of black as a very precious, a nice color, an auspicious color. It is a neglected color, like in terms of like you cannot wear black if you are going for this and this occasion, or it wasn't like a nice color to wear. And also like in the temples, it's not used at all. So I think it was important because I felt like that color needs to be talked about more. It has so much wisdom to give. And then also here in the US, even black is not my history to claim. I am a brown person. It's not my history to claim, but talk about black as God made so much sense here as well. So I think I would continue to use that color. It's one of my favorite colors for a reason.
So black as a representation of a fullness, a source of potential, or maybe like a fertile soil. And then the word idea, the vibration idea, as things becoming specific or individuated.
Mm.
It's great.
Yeah, I love the idea of fertile soil. I've never thought of that, but that's so real.
Well, Saloni, thank you so much for joining us, and go get ready for your reception. And
Yay.
I hope everything goes well. And I'm gonna keep following your art in the future, okay?
Same
So
here. Same here. Thank you so much again for having me here and listening to all that I have to say and engaging with the work. I really appreciate that. And I hope to be connected with you, Josh, and actually all of you through Instagram.
Where are you located, Saloni?
Well, I am currently in New York for a little bit for the residency, but then I'll be in Virginia.
all right.
All right. Bye-bye, guys.